I'm Danica Lohr, and this is Lit Happens, your celebration of the literary arts in Saskatchewan. Today I'm very pleased to welcome spoken word artist and poet Shanda Stefanson. Shanda, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Can you tell me a little bit about yourself, just to start off, just so we get to know you a little bit better?
Well, I'm born and raised in Saskatchewan. I grew up on a farm near Wynyard. I went to university at the University of Saskatchewan and have a theater degree. I spent quite a few years traveling after I finished that, and I've been doing spoken word and writing sort of spoken word poetry for about 5 years now.
And did you, when you were a small child, did you know that you wanted to write?
Sometimes I sort of went between like wanting to be a nurse or a doctor or being a writer. So I think it was about 11 years old when I started reading the Anne of Green Gables series and thought, hey, this is great. I might want to do this someday. But then I started to get more into performing and acting, and that was sort of where I was putting my creative energy. Got burnt out with that, and then came back to writing, yeah.
And the spoken word community is such a fabulous, fabulous thing here in Canada. What are some of the things you've been able to do as a spoken word artist?
Well, I've represented Saskatoon at 3 different national festivals and tournaments. I was actually on the team that took the championship last year. Saskatoon was here in Saskatoon, and we managed to get first place, and I think there were 22 teams from all across Canada. So that was a huge opportunity, and it's such an amazing experience. I also went to an individual championship, but apart from the competing, I've had a chance to just sort of meet lots of people in the community, both in the spoken word community and like the audience, and I've done workshops and just meeting all different people from all different walks of life, and people who tell me that my poetry meant something to them or made them think of their own life or things like that. So that's, to me, that's even more rewarding than prizes and things like that. So, yeah.
So what are the most important things that you write about?
I write a lot about sort of feminist issues, body image, things like that. But I also write a lot about my own personal experiences with like losing family members, grief, and just, I think like a lot of poets, you just sort of write what's happening in your life, writing what you see around you. I try to write about things that make me angry, hoping that, I might try to help things change, things like that. It's a lot of where I draw my inspiration, yeah.
And you have this Jack Pine Press book, and these are beautiful editions because they're handmade, aren't they?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the process of creating this little piece of art. It's more than a book because they're so painstakingly put together.
Yeah, well, it just started out, I just wanted to have a book to sell when I was doing performances. And I think the original edition was 22 books. And I just wanted them to be a little bit more special than just printing them at Staples kind of thing. So I'm really into crafts, and I like sewing. So I had fabric scraps at home, and I just sort of started to design and put together this book. And I know someone at Jack Pine, and she saw the book and loved it and asked me to make more for them. So from what I learned making those first 22, I sort of refined it a little bit and came up, it's an edition of 75 of these handmade ones, yeah.
And so I can't see the cover from here. What's the title? And tell me a little bit about what's inside. Now, it's beautiful on the outside, but it's beautiful on the inside as well.
Yeah, it's called Picking Apart the Stitches. It has some of my more popular, well-known spoken word pieces in it, as well as some shorter, more sort of page poetry poems that I've written. It's really meant to be sort of an accompaniment to a spoken word performance. So there might be poems that you would have heard me speaking and then really like and want to bring them home with you. It's sort of meant to be a companion to that. It's got quite a few poems about body image and stuff like that, but also some a lot of poetry about grief and loss in there as well. It's just sort of a snapshot of what I was writing about when I put the book together.
And do you think that this type of work lends itself well to being read aloud by the person who takes it home to love?
Absolutely. Spoken word poetry is meant to be shared aloud. That's what it's written for. It's a different kind of thing than if it's intended to be on the page. So I think, if people want to read them to each other or just aloud to themselves, that would be an excellent way to bring the book to life, so to speak.
Do you want to just read us a little tiny short bit? Just, we don't have the spoken word artists on the show very often, and it's such a nice, and I love listening to all of our Saskatchewan writers read their work, but some of these pieces are just so beautiful, and if you have something that you want to just take a little.
Yeah, here's a short one. I wrote this one when I was doing a cleanse for about 6 months, and also gave up dating at the same time. So this poem came out of that experience. It's called Vices. Without my normal outlets, my ways of acting out, I am restlessly calm, calmly restless. No turning to outside sources to put out my fires, no gorging, no intoxication, no lust, no gorging, lustful intoxication, no intoxicated gorging on lust. I dream of icing, of nakedness, of wine. I wake with longing and rock myself back to sleep. Some new person is emerging from this shed skin of discarded vices and brings with her the fear of uncertainty, the uncertainty of fear. The self-soothing skills forgotten when I embraced the kissing of boys and relearned in these nights by myself without even self-destruction to keep me company.
Oh, there's such a beautiful rhythm to the language. And we're really lucky in Saskatoon here. We have such a strong spoken word community. So do you want to tell us a little bit about where you can find these fabulous people?
Well, Tonight It's Poetry is the organization that runs a weekly poetry show. It happens Sundays about 7:30. So Tonight It's Poetry. We do things sort of all over the city. You can always check out what's happening there.
And you also do some workshops with that as well.
Yeah, I run, it's every 2 weeks. I do just sort of, it's kind of like a writing club. People can sort of bring in their writing and get feedback on it and stuff like that. And that'll be starting up again in the fall as well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, Shanda, that's all the time we have today to speak, but I look forward to listening to you and reading more of your work. Thank you so much for being on Lit Happens today.
Thank you.
This has been Lit Happens. You can watch past episodes on YouTube by going to Shaw TV Saskatoon. My name is Danica Lore. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter or at danicalore@gmail.com. Thank you for watching.